Hey, welcome to another episode of Three Conservative Gimps, where we give you conservative views from Gimps. Imagine that. We got a great show for you today. We had a momentous, monumental inauguration this Monday, and we will be talking about that. We call that the MAGA inauguration. And we'll talk about all the stuff that happened during the inauguration and some of the weird stuff and some of the great stuff. And we'll talk about it all. And later on, we'll be talking about pardons. You get pardoned. You get pardoned. You get pardoned. Yes, you. All right, let's get this show rolling. This guy needs no pardon, except for his yawning. Let's welcome Lloyd Mendenhall.
How do, folks? How you doing, Art? Yeah,
I'm doing
I'm still
pretty
yawning.
good.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Well, there's a lot of people said they didn't need a pardon. They just like, well, I don't know why I got pardoned because I didn't do
You didn't
anything
do
wrong.
anything wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, just preemptive, too. Yeah.
Preemptive. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Imagine that.
I wouldn't mind having one of those, so maybe I'd get out of a speeding ticket or two. It's like, or any that I might have in the future. Yeah. So
let's save the pardons for a little later. Let's talk about the big event that happened on Monday. We sort of touched on it on your show, but let's go into detail. From what I understand, Roberts kind of rushed a little bit through the swearing in.
Yeah. And people pointed out that apparently probably due to that is the reason some people are saying, well, he's not president because he didn't put his hand on the Bible. Well, I think he just forgot to, because they were just kind of, because first off, this originally was supposed to be in outdoors, and at the last minute, they moved it to indoors due to the inclement weather.
Right.
Which but it was a historical yeah inauguration. Yeah, it was a historical event because this is only the second time in American history that we've had a president who has which first was Grover Cleveland, I believe.
Right.
He ran, he was president, then he lost the next time, came back again. So that was quite, so it's, quite a momentous thing.
Right.
And he came, Donald Trump came back with a really, in a real strong showing in a lot of places that nobody expected it. And
that's right.
Up to a point, it was a pretty, it was a lot different than the 2016. We didn't have the kind of protests
right
that we did the last time. I mean, the protests in 2016.
He did get shot at, shot
Well,
once.
yeah,
And
but I'm talking about, from the point of the inauguration day,
right,
because the day of inauguration, it was just, they did have protests. That's not to say they didn't. There were some out there.
that's true. Hey,
And
let's welcome our third wheel, and let's go to that well, so to speak. Let's bring in Charles. Welcome,
Hello.
welcome, Charles.
hey,
Hey, Art
Charles.
and Lloyd, everybody
Hey,
in the chat.
howdy, howdy.
Howdy
Did
doody.
you watch the inauguration? I was at work.
No, I did not.
Okay. Not high on your priority of shows to watch.
No, I sort of, I caught it. Was one of my Facebook friends posted a really nice highlight
Oh,
that I thought that of when Trump and Melania came out to dance, and
Yeah.
then JD Vance and his wife came out to dance, and then they switched partners, and then they brought out four soldiers, and then everybody was dancing with each other.
Yeah.
You
That was
know,
at the Commander in Chief's ball. And
interesting.
yeah, I thought it was really, it showed a lot of respect of how the military, and why because there's all sorts of presidential balls that are going on, and that was one that he chose to go to, and I thought it showed a lot of respect,
Right.
his respect for the military. And,
Hmm.
I thought of that particular one, I thought at the end, when the I think he's a staff sergeant, Army staff sergeant, when he finished the dance, he bowed from the waist down, a proper gentleman's bow to Melania, to the first lady. I mean,
Nice.
a
Nice.
full bow, hand in front, hand behind, and it was something you just don't see anymore. But somebody
Right.
somebody had trained him right. But I
That's
I did
good.
watch the inauguration itself, and it was interesting. It was
Right.
I thought his speech, his inaugural speech was it was toned down to an
Right.
extent. Of course, at that point, he hadn't heard about uh, the pardons, which we'll
Right.
touch on later. But it was still an in your face, you know,
Right.
uh, pretty much. But then he did a second speech, and that was outside of the original auditorium where he was sworn in at. He came after as he left there. Then he went into what was called the overflow area of the
Mm.
Capitol, and that's when he really said how he felt, about the people who had been in office, because the people that were in that overflow were as he called them, the MAGA warriors, the ones who really stuck with him through all of this, and
Right.
he really laid down what he thought, and but as much as the things he said, I just haven't heard a lot coming from the left, really picking it apart. They're trying to find things to be mad about. So now it's all about the pardoning the well, we'll touch on pardons again, but it was a momentous occasion. I enjoyed watching it. It was,
Hmm.
I didn't have to see Bernie Sanders sitting in the cold up there all by himself in the lonesome
Right.
bleachers. So uh it was kind of interesting because he had like billionaires row behind him. Uh the highlight of that was when Zuckerberg was looking down Bezos' girlfriend's top.
Yeah.
And
Lauren Sanchez is her
yeah,
name.
it's probably the first
And
time that nerd had ever seen him. So, his
yeah. Well, I'm probably that close and in person.
and in person. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
That
You've
wasn't
probably
on the
seen
internet.
pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and he's like, woo, ruh-roh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
Of
but
all the pictures that could have been taken of all those people up there, that's the one that sort of stuck out, like,
well, that and Melania's outfit, her hat, and that gorgeous outfit she was wearing, she exuded class. You
yeah,
know,
even with her spy versus spy hat that she was wearing.
yeah, Dominic
or
likes it says it
secret
looked like
squirrel.
yeah,
Yeah, her
squirrel.
secret squirrel hat. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Or, where's Carmen Sandiego? There's,
Oh, there you go.
that
There
hat's
you
very
go.
similar in style, but she
Mhm.
pulled it off,
Yep. Mhm.
but
Speaking of
then,
fictional characters, somebody took and did an AI image of Melania with that hat on, but they sort of like repurposed it or redrew it as being one of those really sort of wide rimmed hats that you see a lot on martial artists in the kung fu movies, and had her
right.
posed in
Yeah.
in an aggressive shot with a sort of a semi ninja outfit on.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Yeah. You got to admit, I mean, she just really did have a lot. And I think everything said and done, it really went off, he went to 4 balls. Ronald Reagan went to 16 when he got
Wow.
in the second time. Yeah.
Well,
Well, still, I thought, but he also went right to work as soon as, he got about 3
yeah.
hours sleep and jumped
Well,
right into work.
and don't forget, you went to church right after that.
Yeah, that was the next day. Yeah. He
Yeah.
did,
Okay. And
the congressional, I don't know, was it the congressional prayer breakfast? And then after that, they all went traipsing off to church and,
mhm.
the Merrick Garland wannabe minister, that's
Yeah.
yeah. Now we know.
Yeah.
Now we know where Merrick Garland. Once he left off, that's where he's at. He's now
Yeah.
he's
Mhm.
now that
Yeah.
female preacher at that the
Yeah.
Washington
Oh,
Cathedral.
she's a bishop. I always
Bishop.
thought
I'm sorry.
I thought bishop should only move diagonally.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But she moved diagonally to the left.
Yes,
Yeah.
she did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was sad. It demeaned the service. It was not the place for it. It was
Right.
But I gotta admit, if looks could kill, I think Melania's were.
Yeah.
She was really ticked off about that, and so was J.D. Vance.
Yeah. I mean, I could see his
Well, there
eyes
was
kind
even a
of
guy
roll.
behind him. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
there was a bunch of them ticked off, and justifiably so. That's not the place for it, Uh,
Yeah.
Baseball. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was I think a sad ending to what had been a fairly respectful and decent transition.
Right.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Which is what the first one should have been. That's the way it should
Yes.
have been. Instead, it was, 4 years of a Charlie Foxtrot in the way they treated
Yes,
him.
that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, as far as anything that jumps out at me, like I said, the only two things about the inauguration, it was his speech where he was like, oh, and of course Michelle wasn't there.
Yeah, she wasn't there.
Right.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So now there's all sorts of rumors going out about that. Some say they're getting a divorce. I heard one today. It said somebody brought up that apparently Obama and Jennifer Aniston are having an affair.
Oh boy! Wow.
I heard that. I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I don't. I'll believe it when I see it. When
I was
it's
going to say
finally.
that's the kind of thing you want to take with a healthy dose of sodium chloride.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's but that's what somebody brought up in one of the other shows today, and it's like, okay.
Oh.
Let's see. Yes, when Barron Trump shook Biden's hand and they were leaving, Biden's facial expression, I'll bet Barron told his, I'll cut you 6 ways if you mess with our family again. Yeah. And Barron is 6'9". That's an imposing person.
6'9"?
Yeah.
I thought it was 6'7". Wow.
I think I read 6'9".
Wow.
Either way, he's a big sumbitch.
He is. He is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not like when the first time he went to the White House. I mean, he was just, what, maybe 12?
12. Yeah, he was 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was kind of a shy, kind of a Harry Potter looking kind of kid. And
And this
and
time he
then,
stood out. He got a lot of, and that was another thing. He coming into some of the after, you know, proceedings afterwards. He got some cheer when they were doing the speeches after before they did the, as they were doing their parade things and stuff like that. Uh, their indoor parades. He got a lot of cheers when he came walking on stage. He really
mhm,
commanded the stage, and
yeah,
he's going to be somebody. I don't know that he'll go into politics, but I'll bet he
right.
goes into business, and he's going to be somebody. Well, a little tongue in cheek here, but he's going to stand head and shoulders above a lot of them people out there.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yep. And, he's the one that suggested his dad go on Joe Rogan. He's got a
Well,
really good grasp of the
not
media.
well, not just Joe Rogan. He's the one who he was the advisor on all of the podcasts. He says, Dad, you've got to start. And I've heard
Right. Hmm.
Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, Donald. What's the difference, right? Anyways, I heard President Trump saying, he says you got to go on these people's podcasts. He says, well, they might tear me, but go there and be yourself. And just
Hmm.
as Ronald Reagan was known to do, he won him over, with his
Hmm.
with his,
That's right. Hmm.
even with some of his bombastic sayings, he was still truthful. This is what he believes in. You know,
Hmm.
again, some of the stuff he says, I think, was more for part of it, I think, was to mess with the left. I think the other part
Yes.
was to
Hmm.
let his uh, opponents worldwide know that, hey, I'm not messing around this time.
Right. Hmm. That's
And
right.
uh, and he's not. My God, the stuff he's done in the last 3 days has just been outstanding. I think somebody put it
Right.
up there: 462 violent illegal aliens have been arrested just in the
Wow.
last 2 days. DEI died last night. Uh,
That's good. That's good.
uh,
Hmm.
and today, uh, just a little while ago, he signed several executive orders, and one of those was the declassification of the JFK, RFK, and MLK files.
Wow.
So they
That'll
are
be
all being
interesting.
they're all completely declassified now.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that should be
Hmm.
some interesting reading.
Mm.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
find out
provided
how
they
many of
haven't
those.
been altered at some point within the last 70 years.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah, providing, because like he was saying, he says, all of the, and this goes again on the pardons. He says, they destroyed a lot of files before they left office. The Democrats that were at the White House, there was a lot of stuff about the January 6th, because somebody asked about the January 6th pardons today, and he says, well, there was a lot of stuff there that they had the evidence for that showed these people, you know, shouldn't have been put in jail and stuff like that. And like he did pardon, I think about 25 people that they were pro-life uh, protesters,
Uh-huh.
and they had been arrested and put and sent to prison for their stance on pro-life outside of a clinic. And
Hmm.
he pardoned all of them. And some
Hmm.
of them were elderly people. There was one man I know that was in his 70s, uh,
Wow.
and they put him in jail. It's like,
Hmm.
let's see, there's a couple of films at the Oscars that he's not happy about. Yeah,
Uh,
there's always a bunch of films at the Oscars I'm not
yeah.
happy about.
Yeah. Yeah.
If the critics and the Oscars say that something's a bad movie, that's usually the one I'll go watch because it's usually the better of the choices.
Right. Hmm. Yep. That's always my thoughts as well for a
I
long,
watched
long time.
Siskel and Ebert just to see if they gave it a thumbs down. I said, well, that's a movie I want to see then, and it was usually a good
Yep.
movie. 'Cause
Mm-hmm.
They
Yep.
had no taste when it came to what, you know, they were critics and they could sit up there in their ivory towers, you know, and drink their
Hmm. Hmm.
pina coladas or whatever. And, you know, they didn't care. You know, they got to go, you know, hobnob with the rich and famous.
That's
But
right.
they didn't enjoy the movies that us peons did, you know? And
Hmm.
so, yeah, if he's upset at some of those at the Oscars, yeah.
Hmm.
You
So
know.
let's jump into the pardons. We could hash that for the rest of the evening and maybe talk about some other things that happened over the last few days. Like, how about Biden's last minute pardons? He decided to pardon that Peltier guy that killed the cop killer.
Yep. Yep.
He pardoned him,
Yeah.
and
A lot of
and
the Democrats aren't happy about it either. They, you know, but Biden was he's at the point he was going scorched earth. He didn't
right.
care,
Hmm.
you know, because they booted him out. I think he was at that point that they did this to me. I'm just going to take, you think it, he loves it. Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
I could have said, I was thinking champagne, but I don't know, pina coladas popped
Hmm.
into my head. So it's like, you know, yeah.
I'm
Only
surprised.
redneck ivory towers. Yeah.
Yeah, that Don knows
Or-
how to spell pina coladas. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. And
I have no
mm,
idea, Mark. Uh, I don't even know I don't even watch the Oscars because it's just
yeah, I
you know,
know.
it's to me the Oscars have been a waste for years. You know,
Yeah,
it's
the last 20 plus years. Oh my
20.
God.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, except back in the day when Billy Crystal was doing the Oscars, and
yeah.
they had some really funny people. And
Right.
now
Well,
it's like,
and Gervais, I think he was.
yeah, Gervais is about the closest
Yeah,
decent
yeah,
one. Yeah,
yeah.
because he really nails it.
I mean, one of the best highlights of the Oscars I remember was when this was what back in the '70s when the streaking was, a big thing, and some guy goes streaking back. You know, it's when they did it live, and since somebody's always trying to show off their assets, yeah, I think it was Elizabeth Taylor said that, because it was while she was either presenting or just received, and there goes this streaker running behind her, and
Mhm,
it was live, so you saw it,
mhm.
but
Well,
yeah,
my favorite Ricky Gervais one was when he said, "Yeah, I was going to talk about the in memoriam," and I thought, "Nah, just not diverse enough. Too many white people."
yeah,
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 maybe next
yeah.
year. Maybe next year we'll do.
Oh, he says Gervais did the Golden
Oh,
Globes, not
Gervais
the
did.
Oscars.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
that's right.
all right. I thought
Yeah,
he
that
did
was
the.
Jimmy Kimmel that
Oh
did
yeah,
the. Uh,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
God,
Well, I don't
talk
watch.
about. And it was always aimed at the right, making fun of Republicans and Donald Trump, and it's like, come on.
Okay, Golden Globes 2020. Thank you guys for correcting me.
Okay, thank you,
One award show is as good is as boring, and that was the only thing out of any of the award shows in the last 20 years I thought was interesting.
Right. Hmm.
The look on Tom Hanks' face and a few others' faces when he said some of the stuff he did, I thought was
Yeah.
funny. You know,
All right. Well, look, getting back to the pardons.
you're right,
Yeah. So
Don.
he did some pardons like right at the last half hour of his
Actually,
presidency.
they said it was the last 15 minutes. He signed the last one 15 minutes before the swearing in.
Wow.
Yeah,
That. Hmm.
that was pushing it, but uh,
Hmm.
I'm sure it was. Well, I don't know. It could have been. I can't imagine him signing all those and having to run to, jump in a limo and show up there in time for it. So it was probably, the last 15 minutes he was going to be at the White House because
Right.
when Trump showed up, then I think they all left to go to the swearing in.
Yes, you're right, Mark.
Yes,
He
he
was.
was.
Mhm.
Billy Crystal was in.
So, and that launched his career.
Yep, that was the
Yeah.
show that put him on the map.
Yeah, that show launched a lot of careers there. Robert
Yeah, it did.
Guillaume.
Right.
Who else? Richard Mulligan.
Right. And don't forget
Catherine
the
Hellman.
ventriloquist.
Yeah.
Yes. What Jay and Lester, I think is the name.
Yeah, I think so. Jay, and I can't remember his last name. He's still out there doing it. He was actually, I think last year he was at the ventriloquist convention in Kentucky. So they have a convention every June or July in Kentucky, and one of these days I may go to it.
Cool. And well, we talked about he pardoned the January 6th committee members, and
yeah, all the committee members there gave them preemptive
right
pardons.
one of them was Adam Schiff.
Yeah, well, that guy probably needed a pardon.
Yes, that's right.
I don't know that I really don't feel that Donald Trump is going to go after him, in a vengeance way. He wants to move forward, and that's what he's trying to show.
Right.
He's trying to live up to his promises in his campaign, and he's doing a pretty decent job of living up to that. He started the he started the arrest for deportations.
Right.
And he's
got rid of DEI.
Got rid of DEI. Yeah. And even before he was sworn in, some of the other agencies have already started moving people around and transferring.
Yep.
Some people have retired. He replaced the head of the they're the 5th branch of service, Coast Guard. See, when I was in, there was 4 branches of service. The Coast Guards were, they took care of the lakes and they took care of the shoreline. But he replaced her because one, they've been having some problems there with their finances, and she was supposed to straighten that all out. And the fact that they were derelict in doing their job of guarding the coastline and allowing illegal aliens to come through so she was replaced because of that, and but
and there was a big name change.
Oh yeah, the Gulf of America.
Gulf of America it's called. Yeah.
And Mount McKinley is being called Mount McKinley again.
Mount McKinley, was Mount Denali, and now it's back to McKinley.
Yeah, it was Mount McKinley, then Mount Denali, now back to Mount McKinley.
Right.
I wonder if who puts out, is it not Lincoln, but Cadillac. Didn't they put out the Denali? Are they going to call it the McKinley now?
Yeah, I think it was the Denali.
Yeah. So now they'll call it the McKinley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
And
straight on our
also he opened up the Gulf for oil drilling, offshore oil drilling that Biden tried to get banned before he left.
Right.
And
and
he also opened up Alaska again.
Yeah. And the infant births, the aliens that come over here have their kids.
Birthright citizenship.
Yeah, birthright citizenship. Well,
Right.
he canceled that, but it has since been reenacted by a judge. But he said today, he says, "Well, we knew it was going to go there. It's going to have to end up going." And from what I heard today is that if the Supreme Court goes the way they should on this, that is a law that's already been effect for years. It just hasn't
Hmm.
been enforced,
Hmm.
especially by the last administration.
Right. Hmm. And he also made a thing about flags.
Yeah.
The only flag
Only
is
only the United States flag on federal grounds.
right.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Mhm.
And that's one that should be there,
Yep.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh and what else did he do? He did of course he pardoned the January 6th,
Yes,
you know,
he pardoned them.
which yeah, pardoned him. And he also there was 2 Washington DC police officers that were uh sent to prison because on manslaughter or something like that, because they were
Hmm.
in a high-speed chase and they were chasing a guy on the moped. They would just want to pull him over and talk with him. He takes off. They go after him. He ends up crashing his bike or getting hit by somebody. Ends up sustaining head injuries. Dies 2 days later, and they were tried and put in prison by a
Wow.
and
Mm.
he gave them a full pardon. You know,
Good. Good.
and so uh yeah, when he pardoned the J6, that was like the first thing he signed. And he turns around and
Mhm.
hands it to him. And he says, well, hopefully we'll get him out tonight. He says, well, as soon as they get this, and he says, then you need to see to it that whoever's got to do it gets it over to the Department of Prisons.
Mhm.
So, and it ended up being like the next day before they got them all out because they had some, obviously they had to do a lot of hustling. But yeah,
Right.
you know, and there was like a former Olympic gold medalist that you know didn't serve 2 or 3 years probation, and
Uh-huh.
he woke up the next morning and found out he'd been pardoned. He said it's like the end of a nightmare, because
Mm.
those convictions hurt their job chances. You
Right.
know, uh, in his
Mhm.
case, he was an Olympic gold medalist. I don't know if uh, uh, I don't, he was a swimmer. I don't know if he lost his medals because of this or what it was. It's just like,
Uh-huh.
uh, and he's constantly. Oh, he's sending National Guard down to the Texas border.
Good. Good.
He's
Good.
sending troops down there, and
Mhm.
they've already started not just the rounding up in the sanctuary cities like Boston, uh, but also they've already started uh, cutting down on the people coming across the border.
That's good.
It's
That's
they
good.
and of course they've got that they've shut the gate. That was the first thing that Biden did. That was one of his first orders, was to open the gate up to the fence that Trump had built. You know,
Mhm.
well that got they show it's shut, locked, and uh
And Biden was selling off the fencing
yeah, yeah, and
material. And they
yeah, they
stopped it.
got it back. Yeah, they stopped it, and one of the people that bought it actually redonated it back
No
to the
good.
government. Yeah,
Mhm.
or sold it back to him. Uh, but yeah, they got it stopped because Biden couldn't legally sell that because that was property of the United States for an
Right.
intended purpose, and
Mhm.
you know, uh, he had to go through Congress to get it reappropriated to be able to do that, and he didn't. That's why the Supreme Court stepped in and said, "No, he can't do that," or why the court stepped in.
And he also declared cartels terrorists,
Oh yeah, he did what?
classified them as terrorists.
I still didn't
Drug
understand that.
cartels.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, he classified the cartels as terrorists. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and he also withdrew from the Paris
Paris
Climate
Climate Accord. Yeah.
Accord again. So
Yeah.
And the
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
So that's going to be interesting. So are we going to, I don't know, maybe send a drone into Mexico and to take out some of the cartel, places?
he said
Where
they were asking him about, would we be, committing troops to chasing down these terrorists? And he says, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I can say is we'll see.
So
We got out of the NWO as well.
Couldn't be pardoned because they didn't know what they. Well, no, because technically that's the way it should be, but I don't think it's ever, as far as I know, they were given a pardon that goes from like I can't remember,
back to
from like
2014.
2015 all the way through to January, or yeah, from 2020 to January of 25. So just because, and that's the thing, they don't know what they couldn't be pardoned because they didn't know what the sentence was. Well, that's the thing. Some of them hadn't even been brought up. But here's the interesting thing about those pardons. Because they've been pardoned on all of these things, they can no longer plead the fifth.
That's right. That's right.
And they can be forced to testify.
Right.
And there could be people that weren't pardoned that can be brought up on charges.
Yes.
And, there could be secondary charges that have nothing to do with the initial,
And states could go after them too.
That's right. The states can go after them because these were federal pardons. These weren't state
federal
pardons.
Unless you're a blue state, then the governor will probably pardon.
Fauci's pardon extends to 2014. Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking. Now I got Art coughing. Yeah. I was thinking that it went back to 2014 or 2015. Yeah. So.
Because that's when he started the gain of function program.
Right.
In China. Yeah. So.
But his assistant, who was actually the one who was actually doing all of the talking in the beginning until she was getting more press time than him, then he kind of pushed her out of the way. She was not pardoned, so she could be brought up on charges.
Okay.
Because she was the assistant director to whatever he was director of at the time. National Institute of Health, I think.
Not likely that they'd go after Fauci because he's suffering from West Nile disease, which is pretty debilitating, and
but
some people never fully recover. So he may be incapacitated.
Yeah, but there again, they could go after him, but then say that he's not able to aid in his defense, and that would be it. But I want to take the Panama Canal, not the Panorama Canal.
Panorama Canal.
Yeah. The Panama Canal. Yes, he does want to take that back.
That'd be the panoramic anal.
Oh, yeah, panoramic anal. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Gutfeld's name.
Yeah, the anamonic anal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard him say. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's okay. You stole a joke from him. I stole a joke from you today. I can't remember which one it was now, but it was the one about they were talking about stuff for sale. I don't know how we got onto it. And I said, well, just go to a truck stop and see all the stuff that they sell there. Like and all the tourist traps. I said, they cow patties turned into clocks. And I said, just what I need is more shit on my wall. And
Yeah,
I gave
that's
you
right.
credit for it. I did.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
did give you
good.
credit for that one.
Yeah. Hey, looks like it's 8:30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody said, that sounds like an art joke. I said, it is. I stole it right off of one of his stand-up routines I saw on the internet. So, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, the pardons that Biden did, some of them were just unbelievably callous because the families that lost people to some of these murderers and these
Right.
rapists and stuff, it was uncalled for,
Right.
Yeah, Panama thing. There you go. You got it right that time, Mark. But I mean, I don't understand the point of some of them. I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand his reasoning, why these people got pardoned. But a lot of people are saying, well, what about the J6 people that got pardoned? Well, uh, the and of course a lot of the evidence, uh, as Trump said today, has been destroyed. But they had the evidence that they had their own confidential informants and undercover FBI that were in that crowd, instigating that crowd,
Yeah.
and pushing them to do that. They were a peaceful protest up to that point,
Right.
and they
Yeah.
led the charge, and you know, and but were you sneezing or were you just saying bullshit?
No, I said rips.
Yeah,
Did you get it that
yeah,
time?
yeah. I got it that time. Yeah, yeah,
And there was some exculpatory evidence that was destroyed by
right.
the January 6th committee,
Yeah,
and that would have exonerated a lot of those folks. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. There was a lot about it that was done wrong, and the one thing that, and maybe somebody forgot to tell him, but Biden didn't pardon himself.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
unfortunately, he wouldn't stand. He couldn't. He wouldn't. Isn't competent enough to be able to stand trial, anyways.
that's true. That's true.
So,
Mm-hmm.
as they say, to aid in his own defense
Mm-hmm.
is the term
Yep.
they use. But it's going to be an interesting 4 years. I think everything said and done, it started off a lot better uh, than 45 did. I think
Yep.
it's a
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know we had you had Bill and Hillary up there, and George W. and
Yep.
he just comes walking in like some good old boy. It's like, yeah, I put on my good Sunday go to meeting clothes, and I'm here for whatever it is we're all doing. It's
Uh-huh.
just the way he walks in, like, yeah, that guy's, yeah, he spent too much time out on his ranch. It's like,
Yeah.
no, sorry, Prez, but maybe you need to go to town a little more often.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
but
Because
what's his wife's name? What's George's wife's name? Rosalind?
Oh, Lauren Bush.
Laura, yeah,
Laura.
Laura Bush. Yeah.
She was all class like Melania.
oh yeah,
I
Uh-huh.
yeah,
saw her come through. I'm like, wow, she looks great.
yeah, she
Mm-hmm.
does, yeah, yeah. And she always, even he said, he says, I married above my station, and as the saying goes, and I always thought she had a lot of class.
Right.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I may not have agreed with some of their uh, post presidency stance they took there for a while.
Right.
Uh, because I know that George H.W. and Bill had kind of developed a friendship, but I didn't see that friendship extend to George W. or the other way.
Right.
I didn't see
Mm-hmm.
him. I don't think it reached just in talking about both Carter's funeral and the and I can't. It's still hard for me to say, Carter's funeral because he's been
Hmm.
around. I served under the man, and
Right. Hmm.
uh, but yeah, I don't see that George W is 43 is in quite the same friendly terms as say George H.W. was with
Right.
Bill. And
Hmm.
probably a lot because a lot came out after the whole Epstein and all of that stuff, that
Yep.
the Bill was supposedly involved with, and it's probably he's like, man, I'm staying away from that,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
because
Yep.
everything said and done, George W. does have a fairly clean reputation,
Yep. Hmm.
and but it was nice to see them all up there. And I'll be honest with you, I did not miss seeing Michelle Obama. I did not. That her
Yeah.
staying home was, I figured that was the nicest thing she could have done for the United States. You know.
Hmm. Well, yeah. Good point, Brian. Way less resistant this time. Yep.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
never Trumpers are gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Most.
a couple left, but they're they're acting more muted this time around.
Yeah. Even Mitt Romney is kind of keeping his head down, and
Yep.
he's towed the party line now. Finally.
Hmm. Right.
Or of course, there's what's Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
But she's not. Is she a Democrat or an independent?
No, she's well.
She was a Republican, right?
Was a Republican. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know if she left the Republican Party or
yeah. Well, she
became
got a
in.
pardon too. She got a pardon
Yes.
from
Right.
Joe
Hmm.
Biden.
So Adam Kinzinger. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, uh, yeah. That's right. But yeah, because in the spillover speech, boy, he Trump said what he thought about Liz Cheney. Yeah, just
Right.
he didn't say it. What he said in the initial inaugural speech that he gave, the first one, right
Hmm.
after he was sworn in, that was more like, well, we're trying to get our country, went off the rails for a while. We're going to bring it back. And it was like, he didn't turn around and look at Biden like you did this, but it was inferred that, he was referring to Biden.
Right.
But when he
Right.
got out when he got out into that spillover crowd, he says, well, he says, one thing, he says, you guys are a lot younger and a lot better looking than the last crowd I spoke to.
Hmm.
And he says,
Yeah.
but that's off the record. Now, off the record. There was 100 cameras going at the time when he said that. That's off the record. He says, but you're younger
Yeah.
and better looking. He says, but that's off the record. He says, but
Yeah.
you guys are my mega warriors. You are the ones that stood by me through thick and thin. And he says, so I'll
Hey,
give the speech
TJ.
that I would have given back there.
Yep.
Oh, hey, TJ.
Yeah.
So,
I think he
uh,
misses my cooking
huh?
videos. He misses my cooking videos.
Your cooking videos? Ah, yeah,
Yeah, Chef Boy RT.
yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. And what else? Yeah. So I think things are going. Oh, I know what I want. We've had a casualty in the administration already.
Oh,
Vivek Ramaswamy is out.
yes, yeah, yeah. He
Yep.
left, but I think
Yep.
he's going to run for governor. I think that's
Governor of what state?
whatever state he's from. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't he from? He wasn't from Louisiana, was he?
Was that him? It might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was only part of the Doge. It's which
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
so.
From what I understood, he kind of, ruffled some feathers and burned some bridges, and so Elon
See, I
said,
had
"Out of here."
I hadn't really, and I hadn't really heard anything about why he left. I was surprised when it happened, but
Yeah.
well, I was and I wasn't because I felt that oh, the whole they're still playing the same tune, the left are the whole Adolf Hitler Nazi stuff.
Oh yes, that's another thing. Yeah, because
Because
of
of
the
if you
way
go through and
he's
look at it, and Ben
from the
Shapiro, I
bottom of
think
my
gave the
heart.
best thing. Yeah, from my
And
heart
it's,
to you, that's
yeah,
and it wasn't
yeah,
like this. It was my heart to you. And that's
mhm.
exactly what it was. And uh yeah, he needs a lot of help cooking. But
Yeah. So yeah.
Elon
Next time
Musk
you
and
see, hey, if you're going to wave bye bye, you do it. You know,
yeah, when you wave
don't
bye-bye, do it
extend
like
it.
this. Don't wave at
Yeah,
people. Yeah.
bye. Yeah,
Yeah. And
don't wave
it's
your.
that and the thing is nobody believes that. Elon Musk,
Yeah.
yeah. Elon is a different type of person. I think a lot of it is because he's, you know, got, Asperger's or whatever they call it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Something along
Asperger's. He's
Asperger's.
broad
Yeah.
spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah. Broad spectrum. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think, that's probably the case. It happens with that's a lot of people that fall in that, and it's usually in those that are above normal intelligence. A lot of them are like that. A
Hmm.
lot of the geniuses were,
Yep.
you know,
Like
probably
our
if you go
friend
back,
Tom
Howard
Ruby.
Hughes was. What?
Howard Hughes. Our friend
Yeah.
Tom Ruby. Yeah.
Tom Ruby. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And your grandson.
My grandson. Yeah. And he's highly intelligent.
Hmm.
Sometimes he's talking above me and I'm going, you want to dumb that down for your grandpa? It's like, but his social skills are that of a 10 or 11-year-old, but
Right. Hmm.
his social maturity, I should say.
Right.
But uh but his thinking is usually on above college level. So
Right.
oh,
Yep.
that was
So,
a dog.
like Elon Musk, you don't get to be a billionaire being stupid.
Right,
You know.
right. Yeah. And never before in all the business dealings you hear of all the things that they've said about Elon Musk, not once have they mentioned him being a Nazi.
Yeah. Hmm.
And he wasn't saying, see, Kyle, uh,
No.
Kyle Trump,
He
you
was just
know.
really excited and in the
Yeah,
moment.
and as
Hmm.
like I said, Ben Shapiro says, from my heart to yours. That's what, and he was doing it
Yeah.
because, but it, but they only showed this part of it. They didn't, like,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I mean, Ben Shapiro being Jewish, I think he would have, if he thought he was a Nazi, he would have pointed it out very
Right.
straightforwardly,
Hmm.
So, yeah, it's they're playing the same old tunes and nobody's listening. Uh,
Right. Hmm.
I mean,
They just can't help themselves. It's
uh,
like they got beat,
they don't know
doing that.
what to do. And
Yeah, that's right.
the people they got that are talking for them are people like Rachel Maddow and The View and those idiots.
Hmm.
If
Yep.
they want to move forward, they need to get some better spokespeople.
Yep. That's right.
Get some true journalists up there. Get rid of these talk show has-beens and
Right.
or
Yeah, like
hacks.
Morning Joe and
Yeah,
Mika Brzezinski,
right.
who's only famous because of her dad,
Yeah,
who, by the way, was in the Carter administration.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. But yeah, they just need to get. They say, well, there's her name is Brianna something or another. She's actually a transgender woman.
Uh huh.
she's a diehard Democrat, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a two British guys that have this podcast, and she came on it, and as Greg said, it's one of the first transgender liberals with a brain that he's seen. And she
Mm,
says, we went too far with the message. People don't, when you start messing with people's kids and saying, we're going to change your sex, but you won't be notified about it, you know, or
mm-hmm.
we're going to let boys into the girls' bathroom and you're not going to be you know, that's where that's where we started messing up. We pushed all of that too far. Got Rockefeller syndrome.
Yeah.
Of course, Mark's our favorite liberal of the group anyway. So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm,
but we like you anyways, Mark.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
So,
it's going to be an interesting 4 years. It's already been
yes.
it's been one of the most interesting first weeks of a presidency I can remember.
Right. We haven't even had a whole full week yet. And he's
Yeah,
done a lot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. 3 days
Yeah.
into this, I mean, it was just the the way the inauguration parade and all of that stuff having to be moved indoors, but they actually brought a desk and put his seal on it. And he was in an auditorium with all of these people that were supporting him as he was
Mm-hmm.
signing those first orders, executive
Right.
orders. And
Mm-hmm.
the other thing is he's not just going to stop with the executive orders because they're only good for 4 years, and then depending on who comes in after him,
Right.
whether it be Vance or whether it be another Republican. If the Democrats don't get their crap together, it's going to be another Republican, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
but the Republicans are going to have to, they're going to have to work to keep this. They had to
Right.
finally got up off their dead butts and started doing something because how many
Mm-hmm.
times have we talked about on this show? Well, if we could lose it, it's good. If anybody could
Yeah.
lose this, no matter how far ahead we were, we lost it. This time we didn't, and that was one of the improvements. And that's because finally the Republicans started giving a message that the people wanted to hear. But they're going to
Mm-hmm.
have to keep that in mind. Yeah, that's why
Mm-hmm.
I have problems saying, that that's because that's what comes to mind every time I say that term. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's why I try to put it like a Z, like Asperger's, uh,
Mm-hmm.
or Asperger's or something. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it's
Yeah, we already talked about that at the beginning, Mark. About that bishop.
yeah, we already talked about that. Mark should
Bishop
have been here at the
Buddy
start of the show.
is her name. Yeah.
But what do you expect for an Anglican?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, enough said. Uh, but no, I think yeah, he's signing all these executive orders, but he's also letting them know he's already spoken to many of the House members and the senators that he wants this legislation moved forward because you know executive orders, as I said, they're only as good as the current president.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And once that changes, well, you know, there might be something there JD Vance doesn't quite agree with, and he might undo it.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a few things that the people say, I
Mm-hmm.
wish he hadn't done that, and he'll come in. Yeah,
Right.
I agree with what Joe said. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was. He's going to have to push legislation, and he better have and I think that's what he's done. That's why he was doing so much before he actually was sworn in. Because
Mm-hmm.
one, we didn't have anybody who was actually running the country, so he sort of became
Right.
the de facto president. You know,
Right.
uh, which was good, but he's got to have the legislation, and he's got to get that legislation passed. Because
Right.
otherwise, in 2 years, boom, we're going to lose the majority in both the Senate and the House.
Right. Yep.
And but I think a lot of these people have seen that.
Mhm.
The writing is on the wall for the
Mhm.
status quo.
Mhm.
And right now, the Democrats don't have anything new to offer. They're still using the
No, they
same old
Right.
tired, has been hack lines that they've been using for the last 15 years, 16
Right.
years.
Mhm.
And
And hopefully we could get term limits pushed through.
yeah,
That's going to be a big hurdle
we need to.
because
I mean, but that's going to require a constitutional amendment. So,
that's right.
and when was the last time an amendment, was successful? Back in the 60s.
I think I could beat Don to that.
It's probably back during the 60s under the Equal Rights Amendment, or the Women's Equal Rights Amendment failed. And I don't remember voting on anything before that.
Right.
I think the last one I voted on was the
let's see. 27th Amendment. Let's see. Last amendment that's been added to the Constitution. What I'm trying to see what it's about.
Well, that's good to know, Mark. That's good to know. Then I won't pick on you quite so much. Ow, get down. No, I'm not picking you up. Over here clawing my legs wanting to get up. Go, get down there and chase a mouse or something. Leave me the hell alone.
So yeah, that was the last one, and it passed.
What was it? What was it about?
27th Amendment says that no law can change Congress people's salary until a new 2-year term for the representatives starts.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that now.
Was passed May 7th, 1992.
Really?
Yep.
I don't remember voting in the state to ratify it. Maybe.
Well, it took 202 years, 7 months, and 12 days to ratify it.
202 years?
Yep.
Okay,
so
that was
suggested to be added September 25th, 1789.
okay.
Yep.
I was going to say the last one I remember voting on was the repeal of the 18th Amendment.
Okay.
That's the last one I remember voting on.
Yeah.
When they legalized booze again.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be back in the 30s, I think. 32.
Yeah, that was a rough time period to live through without no alcohol. I'm telling you. All them gangsters shooting places up. Yep. We couldn't have any booze.
Now it's gangsters are selling drugs. Yeah. Ooh,
yeah.
Now they're classified as terrorists. Yay.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. Wow.
We've covered over an hour, so I want to thank everybody in the chat for coming. Please tell your friends about the show. Let's get some more people watching and get more people to watch the show after the show. Let's build those views up. Let's get the subscriber count up. And you all have a great weekend. Enjoy the
and a special thanks to Mark for showing up from across the pond.
Right. Yep. And the football game on Sunday. 2 of them determines who goes to the Super Bowl.
I don't know why.
Take care, everybody.
Yeah. Anyways.